Welcome to Up on Game presents Taylor Scouting. Coach Randy Taylor is bringing his 40-plus years of knowledge to you. This is Taylor Scouting. And now, here's Coach Randy Taylor.
So this is Coach Taylor again, and Taylor Scouting with the Up on Game Network. I'm here with one of my buddies and a guy that I really like, Greg Biggins. I'll get a little bit more into his introduction in a second and get him on here. But just want to talk about the Taylor Scouting podcast and what it's for. It's for education. It's for college football. It's for high school football. It is for giving people information that they may not get somewhere else. We try to do things where the stories that we have on are from trusted people, and we want you to trust us as well. My background, 40 plus years in college football, UCLA, Minnesota, Illinois, UNLV. And then colleges have been paying me to evaluate players for a long time because I'm an old son of a gun, right, Gregory?
Yep. No, man, you're young and youthful. I love seeing you on the road.
Young at heart, brother.
Brings me joy.
Hey. So, I've known Greg Biggins since my days at UCLA back in the late '90s and all the way through 2003 when I left. But when I first started getting to know Greg, I developed a great deal of respect for his opinions and evaluations. And I think that's what's most important for a guy like him is that the people that he's around and the people that read his stuff and listen to his stuff trust it and know that he understands. I mean, you can tell a knee bender, right?
Yeah. Some guys are obvious. Some guys are easy.
So Greg is he's the national recruiting analyst at 24/7 Sports. And say hi, Greg, and just give us a little bit of your background.
Yeah, no, I started 95, 96 with student sports. And Randy, at that, this was like pre-internet. So this is back in the day of 900 numbers, where if you want to know how UCLA or Notre Dame or USC, you'd call 900, whatever the number was. And it was like $1.50 a minute. And someone would sit there and give you all the information and usually make up stuff, but there was no checks and balances back then. You just say, hey, breaking news next Tuesday. You do not want to miss next Tuesday. There was no breaking news, but between then and Tuesday, you have to create something. So that eventually turned into what was called the Daily Update. And I think Randy was one of our first subscribers, and it was kind of funny. Randy, you were so good to me and our company, Brent Eads, that you gave us not just the UCLA breaking news, but news on everything. But of course, we were the ones that broke everything UCLA. So naturally, I got labeled this UCLA honk. The reality was I actually grew up a USC family, but it was all about UCLA because of Randy was feeding me information. And then the internet kind of just went berserk, right? A few years later, rivals.com happened. A few years later after that, there was Nike camps and Elite 11, which we were a part of at Student Sports, the opening regionals, all that kind of good stuff. And then there was scout.com. There was all these different ESPN started doing recruiting 24/7 sports. Now it's On3. So it all grew from, kind of a small, insular type of, almost like working out of your garage in the 90s to what it is now, which is where people almost care more about recruiting than their own team, how they do on the field. It's kind of funny, but no, so that's my start, and that's kind of where I'm at right now, working for 24/7 Sports still. It'll be like 30 years, I think, in a couple of years. So I've been around a long time, and obviously recruiting has radically changed over the last 4 or 5 years, even the last decade. But the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen some radical changes, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah, and you don't look old enough but I think you started when you were 13.
No, I mean, the hat is one of the
hat
what saves me. Take the hat off by age 20 years. That's what my wife tells me, at least.
Yeah, the wives are always keeping you
honest,
humble, right?
Yes.
Hey, talk about your role. How has it changed over the years? Now, you kind of started with the phone calls, the 900 number, but the industry has changed, and I don't want to get into NIL and that stuff yet, but I kind of wanted to get your overview of the industry and how it's changed?
Yeah, that is a great question. I think the biggest change is probably social media. And what I mean by that is back in the day, we used to be the ones that broke the news. Now with Twitter and Instagram, the kids break their own news for the most part. So it's kind of become more of like, you still want to grind, you still want to build relationships, just like recruiting. If you're a college coach and you're trying to recruit a player, it's all about relationships. That's kind of how it is in our business too. A big reason why I know you're also very close with Brendan Huffman. A big reason why I think we break a lot of news is because we build relationships with these kids when they're young, even going into high school, with their coaches, with their families. And it's genuine for both of us, right? We do this for different reasons. For me, I believe any job you have is a ministry. Huffman, obviously he has the Avery Foundation. And so that's a big part of his life as well. So, but it's not, you're not breaking as much news anymore. You're still maybe releasing a player's top 5, or, you can maybe release when a kid's going to commit, but the kid's going to put the news out himself. So now the job is to maybe tell the story behind the commitment. It's not breaking the commitment. It's okay, why did he choose this school over this school and this school? So I would say my job is still similar. I'm still going to the camp, still going to the, whether it be a games, 7-on-7s, showcases, still trying to evaluate the best you can, still watching a lot of film. I think with our rankings, what we've done at 24/7, it's kind of different. It's an NFL draft projection. It's not how good you are in high school, which that's very, very tough for a lot of parents to understand, why their kid who threw for more yards than this kid isn't rated higher. Well, my kid had more tackles than this kid. Why isn't he rated higher? And you have to be, understand, hey, this isn't about high school. Although, again, I'll say this 1,000 times, production matters. Production absolutely matters, but it's a 3-4 year projection. And for us, it's an NFL draft projection. And so we're looking at things. So I don't want to get too long winded here. We look at the draft every year, right? And then we'll take those guys drafted and go see what they were like in high school, looking for trends. And so for us, if it's skill players, the big indicators of skill players are multi-sport athletes, track guys. If you're a big lineman, O-line, D-line, big trends to look for, a lot of those guys, they're multi-sport guys. They wrestle, they throw the shot, they throw the discus, they play basketball. So for us, I don't want to see a guy who plays football year round. I want you to be a multi-sport guy. If you're a skill guy, man, you got to be running track. It's kind of a SoCal thing where we don't do track out here, unfortunately. And I love track. In the South and in Texas, those guys run. Those guys play a lot of sports. Out here, we're bigger on 7-on-7. And I think there's value in 7-on-7. But for me, I'd rather have you play baseball, basketball. If you're a big lineman, man, wrestle, play basketball, throw the shot, discus, play volleyball. Do all those things. And what you do, I think it does a couple things. I think it helps your overall athleticism. You learn how to work new muscles, and you also kind of clear your mind from burnout, right? You allow yourself to miss your sport. If you're doing football year round, you don't really miss it. But if you're doing other sports, you get to spring football, you're refreshed, your mind is clear, you're ready to go. 10 years ago, I don't think we cared as much about track. We didn't care as much as if this guy played basketball. We didn't care as much as, this guy, threw the shot put this far. But now, because it's an NFL draft projection and the guys drafted did those things, now we're looking out for those things as much as almost anything.
Yeah, the 100-meter time has always been important. And those kind of things. So all of that and the athleticism, what you've talked about, is probably where I think everybody should start. Is he an athlete? And playing the multiple sports is a part of that. I totally agree that if they get locked into one sport, they just lose something. Sometimes it's just taking coaching from a different kind of guy or woman or whatever it might be. And so I think that athletic multi-sport thing is really a key, and I'm glad that you had a chance to talk about that. The one thing I will say, when you were starting to talk about the kids put up their own news, how big of a problem is it when they kind of will fudge? They'll make up something. They didn't get the offer. They are kind of thinking that the coach said, hey, I'd love you to come here, but that's not an offer.
I mean, I don't, this day and age, we live in the world of the non-committable fake offers. And that's another radical thing. I would say that's probably a 3 to 4 year thing, but I feel like it's the last two have been, you're seeing now we have handlers who go around and get offers for families. And it's been, I don't love it at all, if I'm being honest. And what it does, I think it creates so much entitlement. So you're seeing 8th graders and 9th graders getting offers. And so what it tells that kid is, hey, I'm really good, right? Even though I haven't played a varsity snap or even a freshman snap, I'm a really good football player because I just got offered by the school. And so therefore, it creates entitlement. It creates bad habits. This kid all of a sudden, doesn't think he needs to work as hard. He thinks that he's already arrived. And a lot of these guys wash out, and you'll see guys with all these, offers from SEC, Big Ten schools sign with a 1AA school. And you're going, hey, what happened to that offer from Georgia? Well, you never had the offer from Georgia. It was a non-committable offer that somehow there was a deal made. And it's bizarre for me. And I get it. I understand why. I think the hope is, this offer may not be real, but if other colleges see it, it puts my name on the map, and maybe other schools will say, oh, wow, this kid, we better take a look at him. So it's kind of a way of getting their foot in the door. I don't fully understand why colleges do it, to be honest with you. I feel like it devalues their brand when you see a school with all these offers out that aren't even committable. I'll give you an example. Back in the day, there's new staff, so I'm not taking shots at the current Florida State staff, but Florida State had offered 1,000 kids. And when I was growing up, and even you, Randy, in your UCLA days, Florida State was like, they were a squad, right? Florida State was kind of a top 5 brand, a top 5 program. And so I still remember Florida State being like this elite program. And you saw so many fake Florida State offers flying out that I almost had more, respect if I saw a kid get an Idaho offer. I knew that was a real genuine offer than this Florida State offer. And so I feel like, the colleges, obviously they feel like there's going to be a trade-off. Hey, if we offer these kids, can you bring them onto campus so we can take a look at them? And that's where we're kind of are now when recruiting. A lot of times schools will offer a player under the guise of, hey, you got to come take a visit with us. You got to come to our camp. But the kid or the handler or the family, well, you need to offer us first in order for us to take a visit. And it's kind of backward, right? It used to be evaluate the kid first, meet the family, get them on campus. If you like all that, it checks out, then you offer. Now it's like, hey, we're going to offer you, come to our camp, and we'll see if this offer is going to be real or if it's going to stick or not. And, when you see these freshman offers, very, very few of them are what I would call committable. You can't commit that early. You just can't. And what the school will do is maybe they'll take it. If you don't continue to develop, though, you're dropped by your junior year, and now you're stuck, scrambling, trying to find new schools who haven't been recruiting you that hard because you supposedly already committed, or because you're not very good at football, despite some of these offers you had when you were a freshman and sophomore.
Yeah, it really is kind of a backwards a little bit. I always like to offer kids, even nationally, but we always knew that person could play. And when we did that, we were doing it sometimes just to look more like a national program, because sometimes you have to play that game a little bit to get your name out there to other kids, especially if you're going to recruit nationally. So that's a big part of that. But great explanation, Greg. Let's talk about the stars. What do stars or offers come first?
They're both, right? Sometimes, we'll rank kids who don't have offers, and I think both are a way of kind of keeping, I don't want to say accountable, but if I see a kid, and I try to know every kid, but if I see a kid, all of a sudden a Utah offer pops up, right? I love Utah, respect them so much. If a kid has a Utah offer, I'm like, oh my gosh, who is this kid? I need to take a look at him, and we'll evaluate him, and then we'll rank him. So we're not ranking him because he got an offer. We're ranking him because we know who he is. I guess the same thing could apply as if you were at UCLA and you said, hey, I like this kid, or again, Utah, they don't need to offer a kid, but if someone were to say, hey, this kid's a good player, watch out for him. It's just a way of being notified. And I think the same thing goes, we'll rank kids with no offers. And then all of a sudden, again, we kind of feel like we help put guys on the map, right? We kind of help publicize players, which is why every, parent and coach and handler always wants us, hey, can you make a profile for this kid? Can you do a story on this kid? Can you tweet about this kid? Because, when we do that, we understand, and it's not being like arrogant. It's not me. It's the company. Colleges have their, their assistants that are, their job is to scan the internet to see, if new players pop up. Now it's video, right? Back in the day, it was hard to see video. Now there's Huddle, and even more now, you see kids putting their own stuff on Twitter all the time. So it's easy to see kids. So kind of a long-winded way of saying, I don't think it's either or. I think it's both. Colleges will find out about a kid after he's ranked, and we'll find out about a kid after he's offered. But it doesn't mean we're ranking him because of the offer, or they're not offering a guy because of a ranking. It's just, that's a way of, you hear about a kid and then you do the evaluation, because of that.
Yeah, I think you've always done a great job, Greg, of telling kids at these different events that you go and speak, and or when we're on the field and the coach asks you to come up and say something. You do a great job of talking about that whole process. Is, the stars are not what gets you offers. There's a whole, you have to play the position and be a good player and do all those kind of things. So I think you lay it out really well for them, and that you're kind of almost, you're media. So it's a little bit like the old days of the All-American team or the All-State team. And those kind of have gone by the wayside. And now you've jumped into it on a huge scale to be that media source that is really, really entrenched.
Yeah, I think when I talk to players and parents, I think they expect me to push stars because that's what I'm known as. You're the guy who ranks kids. And then I go the exact opposite. I tell everybody the last thing you should be concerned about are stars and rankings. End of the day, they do not matter at all. It's a business, and yes, we rank kids, and yes, we have to give a star rating, but even the star rankings, people don't fully understand, and we probably don't do a great job of explaining them. What is people, he's a 3-star. What does that even mean, a 3-star? And again, I already referred to, it's an NFL draft projection. So, our 5-star for us, we do 32 5-stars because there's 32 first-round picks. So if you're a 5-star, it means we're saying, okay, you have the tools to be a first-round pick. There's only 32 first-round picks, only 32 5-stars. And then so the next, 30 players are rated, a high 4. Not all 4-stars are created equally. Not all 3-stars are created equally. We have another scale. 3 stars go from an 80 to an 89, right? So it's just like if you got a B-, versus a B+. And if you're an 80, 81, it means you have some tools, limited upside, chance to go play in college, maybe not make the NFL, but we like you as a prospect. 85, 86, there's definitely some tools there. And if you're an 88, 89, you're a 3-star, but you're like right there on the borderline. There's not much difference between you, a high 3-star and a low 4. And that's why it drives me crazy when someone goes, he was a 3-star. I mean, yeah, he was rated like the number 400 player in the country. He was a 88, 89. I mean, he is a legit dude. So the thing with us, with stars being an NFL draft projected, is I know most of the kids that I talk to won't ever play in the NFL. So I don't want their high school experience to be about hunting stars, because it's not going to really, they're not going to make the NFL. And I think what happened is now kids don't enjoy the high school football experience like they used to when we first started, Randy. Like, and it bothers me that I think people, they go to 3 or 4 different high schools, right? And a lot of that is because they feel like I got to go to this high school if I want to get a scholarship and I need to get rated. And you miss the joy of just being, used to be, hey, I always tell nothing wrong with just being a good high school player. Like, what is wrong with just being a really good high school player? Maybe you don't play in college. You have no chance at the NFL, but embrace that. Embrace just being good in high school. And I feel like the stars has made kids and families a little crazy, and it's made them emphasize the wrong things. So when I talk to them, I'm like, hey, things that you should worry about most, man, just being a great worker, being a great teammate, being coachable, be that guy who loves your teammates, be that guy who, be a great student, go sit in the front row in class and ask tough questions. Be a leader on your campus, and especially among your teammates. There's always those 2 or 3 guys, can't even walk and chew gum at the same time, and be a great leader and teammate to those guys, right? That's more important now and 50 years from now than a star rating. I say that every time, and I guarantee you 5 minutes later, Randy, this is a true story. 5 minutes later, I'll get emails. Hey, great to have you out. So how do I get rated? Every single time. It's like it goes over their head. They don't think about it. They don't care what I said, because their mindset is stars equal scholarship. Scholarship equals going to college for free. So that's my mission. And it's kind of almost humorous. No matter what I say, loved having you out. Love to have to say, how do I get rated higher? And it's kind of like, man, you didn't hear a thing that I just said, because you shouldn't be worrying about that, man. Just work on you becoming a better football player. Play multiple sports. Enjoy that. Enjoy high school. If it happens, it happens. But don't work for that, man. Work for all these other things that have so much more long-term value.
Hey, do you happen to know, and I'm going to have to look this up, but the number of stars that most NFL players had? Have you ever looked at that? I'd be curious. So in other words, whatever number of players are in the NFL, were there more 3 stars? Or 5 stars?
Well,
or 4,
consider the numbers, right? I mean, there's 32 5 stars and there's over 1,000 3 stars. So there's more 3 stars in the NFL just because the numbers, it's one of those I gotcha questions. Stars don't matter because look how many stars are in the NFL. But what we found over the last 4 or 5 years, look at the NFL draft, the majority of the first round are made up almost 75% of the 4 and the 5 stars. So the hit rate is actually really, really good with the 4 and 5 stars. Again, is every single 5-star going to be drafted? No, it's not going to happen. Just like is every single first round pick going to pan out? No. And you're talking NFL GMs who are paid millions to get this right. And how many first round busts do we see, right? Every year, you could probably count at least 10 guys drafted highly in the first, second, third round who will never see the field or be an impact guy. So It's hard to project, especially for us. We're going from high school to the NFL. But again, what we're seeing is the playoff teams over the last 10 years. There's only been one playoff team, that was Cincinnati. They were the outlier, but every other playoff team had over half their roster made up of 4 and 5 star players. So that's 50% of the roster, 4 and 5 star players, every playoff team over the last decade, except for Cincinnati. So there is value in I'm not downplaying the stars. I'm just saying for a kid, that shouldn't be your main goal, is to try to hunt stars and hunt offers, hunt becoming a great football player. But again, the simple math, there's always going to be more 3 stars just because there's 1,000 more 3 stars every year than there is, 4 and 5 stars.
That's a great answer. I appreciate that. That makes a lot of sense for our folks watching. What about the NIL and the portal? How has that impacted the internet and the recruiting process, and how?
Yeah. NIL, I think, has radically changed things, where it used to be, it's one of the first things that people ask about now. I have colleges say, hey, when we bring kids on a trip, first thing they will ask about is NIL. It used to be, you want to know about, maybe academics, player-coach relationship mattered, playing time mattered, depth chart, development mattered, location, all that stuff still matters, but it's now behind, hey, what can I get if I come here? And a lot of colleges, that'll be a red flag, right? That's a way of saying, okay, that's the first thing this guy wants to know about is how much is he getting paid? He's probably not the right fit for us. Other colleges embrace that. They're like, yeah, we want that kid. And we have this NIL program. So I feel like it has changed the game radically. We always said it wasn't really a level playing field. Certain schools that just have bigger recruiting budgets. Certain schools just have, SEC schools, right? That just, the joke is it means more out there. And so it's always going to be tough to recruit against the Bamas and Georgias of the world, Ohio State, Tech with those huge recruiting budgets. But now essentially it's pay for play. It's not NIL. It's not, hey, come to my campus and you get half of your jersey sales. It's, if you come to my school, you'll get this much every year you're here. That's not what NIL was supposed to be about. It's what we all knew what would happen, but it wasn't supposed to be about that way. That's kind of what it is. So I feel like it's definitely kind of creating a bigger gap between the have and have nots. They said, oh, this is gonna level the playing field. I don't know why they thought that. So NIL is big. And then you mentioned the portal. Yeah, I think during the COVID year, it really hurt the high school kid because colleges were using the portal exclusively almost to fill out those last 5 or 6 spots. If you have a 25 scholarship limit, it was you bring in 15 guys you really like, maybe like 5 guys you think have a chance, and then those last 5 were maybe projects, right? And now those last 5 guys, schools are saying, hey, we can look at the portal. And actually, there's no guessing when it comes to the portal, right? With high school, no matter how good a player is, the best high school player you've ever seen, you still don't know how he's going to play in college. With the portal, because you actually watch this guy play for 3 years, and he's good because you have 3 years of good college film. There's no guessing. So if you're a college and you have a high school kid who's a project or a college portal kid who's hungry, he's got 1 year left, he wants to make the NFL. He doesn't care about all the bells and whistles of high school. Doesn't need to be DM'd 100 times. He wants to go play, and he wants to play right now. And if you're a college coach and you have an opening at your left corner position, you go get that high school kid or the portal kid who wants to come and can play for you right now. So every college, even the elite colleges, are now using the portal. Some schools are using half their class to fill out their recruiting, using the portal to fill out half their recruiting classes. Because again, it's a sure thing. There's no guessing. So yeah, those 2 things. But yeah, the portal especially, man, it's radically changed how high school, and kind of the filter down, I guess you would say, is this should all obviously make the JUCO football program stronger, because these kids now don't have a place to go, kind of maybe forces them to go to a JUCO. I think it also has forced some kids to commit earlier than they want to, because shoot, man, that spot isn't going to be there forever. And if you don't commit now in June or July, by the time it gets to October, November, your spot's gone, and they filled it with somebody else, and you don't have any scholarships left. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? So I think it's made kids have to commit a little bit earlier. And I think it also is probably making kids have to go the JUCO route prior to, more so than we've seen in previous years.
Do you think a lot of kids are, because of the portal, they're picking a school that they want to transfer out of, but they don't have another option?
Yeah, I think so. I think we call it lock your spot in, right? You commit to a school with really no intention of sticking with it, or the hope of another offer comes along that's better. So it's a placeholder, right? I'm going to commit to this school right now. Worst case scenario, I go to this school, college for free. Maybe I kill it there and go into the portal. But their best case scenario is I'm going to lock my spot in. At the minimum, I have this school. I'm going to still go out and have a great year. And as more offers come in, if I get a better option, I'm going to flip to one of those schools. Yep, I think that's a big thing you see with a lot of early commitments.
Do you see kids who will sign with colleges that maybe they are doing it just so they can go play and transfer?
I have seen that as well. And the NIL is a big reason for that, because right now a lot of the biggest dollars are being thrown into portal kids, where you get these bidding wars, right? For guys that are in the, again, you played 1 or 2 years of college, so colleges can see you can play. So I've actually had some families say, hey, we're going to go to a school that we know we can play at right away, have a big freshman year, and the sole reason is we want to go there. And then so when we hit the portal, we want to create this bidding war and have schools throw money at us so that we can go to our real choice, which is going to be the portal choice. So the choice out of high school, they're not seeing themselves being there for 3 or 4 years. Sounds crazy, radical, but I've actually had families tell me this.
Yeah, the schools too, I think, have realized that, you know what, I'll take this kid. He probably won't be here for more than a year, but I can get this out of him for a year, fill need, and then go to the portal myself next year to replace him when he transfers.
Yeah, you could say, hey, look what this guy did for a year. Look what he did. This guy caught 40 balls, caught 6 touchdowns. Look that, what I'm saying? So it works both. That the guy who comes in now, all of a sudden you can sell him, even though we kind of sold you out, you can sell him as a reason to come to your school. This guy was only here for a year, but look what he did. And look where he's at now because of what we did for him, how we developed him, our offense, our defense. So it kind of does work both ways for sure.
What other roles do you have, Greg, in this recruiting world? And I know you do some broadcasting and things. Tell us about what you're doing now.
Yeah. Say hi to my youngest daughter, just popped in here. Yeah, so I think I did for the last 4 years, I did the games of the week on Fox Sports, which became Bally Sports, which unfortunately, as of right now, isn't looking like it's going to happen. In 20, who's going to pick up the game of the week? It's been going on. God, Justin Vargas, Randy, was the very first high school game ever put on. It was Notre Dame Sherburne Oaks versus Alemany. Was that 98 maybe?
Yeah, around there.
Yeah. So that's high school football on Fox/Bally. It has been going on since 98. So I think as of right now, I haven't heard that they're picking it up. And so, yeah, it's kind of we'll see who does high school football. I mean, I think I would miss it for sure. I love doing it, but I loved watching the games for, almost 30 years. I thought it was special to be able to watch high school football in Southern California and prep zone games too. So, yeah, as of right now, Randy, I'm not sure. So my role to answer your question is kind of just doing this. I guess I need to find like a side hustle. Something else to do.
Do you pick any all-star teams or help any of the U.S. Army game or any of those other games?
So 24/7 Sports, we're partners with the All-American Bowl. So we kind of help with player personnel. Then also me, Brandon Huffman, Blair Angulo. We're also on the Polynesian Bowl committee. So, we help pick players. And, obviously if a player gets picked for the game, you'll see a story from one of us. So it's, helping out with probably player personnel and, covering the camps. Obviously get the trip to go to Hawaii every year. It's always a good time. Affiliation with both those two games.
Yeah, that's great. And so what you want to do now is I want to make sure everyone gets your cell phone. So no,
I got it. Yeah, I'll be sure to give you a legitimate number.
I'm kidding you on that one.
867-5309. That's the number. Go ahead and call that one.
What's the best way? Just go through 24/7 to reach you.
Yeah. I mean, Randy, are you trying to get me in trouble? Why would anybody need to reach me for anything?
Well, or to send you video or to do.
Yeah, I'm easy to find. As Primetime said, I'm easy to find. Just Twitter, just at Greg Biggins. That's the best way to get me. I have an email, greg.biggins@cbsi.com, like CBS Sports, cbsi.com. Is the other way. I'm not a great emailer, but I'm probably a better Twitter person. I don't know how to even say the Twitterer.
Tweeter.
I guess, yeah. But yeah, email, follow on Twitter, whatever you got to do, and yeah, I'll be sure to try to make sure I can keep up on you.
Yeah, I didn't mean for you to give them your email either, but just so people can watch you and know where to watch you. That was kind of what I wanted more, and I was teasing you about the phone number. But
watching me is a very overrated experience. Let me just tell you that. So I'm not the show at all. I'm far from the star of the show. It's it's always going to be about the kids for me, and let's tell their stories. I don't really have a story. It's it's about them. So
and you do it well, and that's why we love you, because that's the philosophy that you take. So, Greg, I'm going to let you go here. I just want to finish up by giving the folks more information about Taylor Scouting, the Up on Game Network, where you can subscribe. Please rate and review us. Go to YouTube for the Up on Game Presents Taylor Scouting, and you can watch this at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Friday is when this show with Greg Biggins will air. And so follow me also on Twitter at rtaylorfbscout. And you know how to reach us on all the other social media networks and podcasts, the iHeartRadio, all that good stuff. So thanks, Gregory. You are a stud. Really appreciate you coming on, and we will be in touch.
Sounds good, Randy. Always good talking to you, man. You're one of my favorite people, so I appreciate you. You helped me get my start, so I'm always gonna be thankful to you.
Thank you, young man.